Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Glue Guys podcast, episode 34. It's been a little bit. I got a new setup, all right? You guys can see my new DBZ poster. Got a little bit of new light, all that good stuff. We're still working out 100% the kinks. Me and Savannah just moved into a new house. So you actually, even though I got this new setup, you actually might be seeing more in person uh, videos lately since me and Chad are a little bit closer together now. But who knows? Keep you guys on your toes. Chad, tell the people how you're doing.
Man, doing good. Like he said, it's been a wild couple of days slash week to 2 weeks. We spent Mother's Day with our mother, Ethan and I did. So that was the reason why we didn't have a recording for you guys over the weekend. But we're back, and as we were kind of talking before the podcast, some of our topics may even be even more interesting now that they've had a couple of days to marinate, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so the two main topics we really wanted to get into today were A, footballers that need a move this summer for one way or another, for one reason or another. And the second one we wanted to talk about was NBA panic meter. So just whet your guys' appetite a little bit. Let's just hop straight into it. No intro topic, no fluff, no nothing. Let's just hop right into it. Some players that need moves this summer. Um, I know I have a couple more than you, so I'll actually get to start it off. And the one person I saw
Perfect.
that I kind of, piqued my interest, because this is a guy I was huge, huge, huge on when he got his move, his initial move from Southampton. And that
Max
is,
Meyer?
shit, no, I couldn't have been higher on him around FIFA 15 time, though. But the guy that I was really high on about 2, 3 years ago, Romeo Lavia, all right,
Mm.
Chelsea player. Again, I was really, really huge on him when he had that campaign for Southampton. Shocker, another campaign where Southampton went down. But I just really, really enjoyed him, like the way he was able to play and the way he was. I know this iteration of Southampton is pretty infamous for them playing their way, for that first whole,
Oh
basically
yeah.
until Russell Martin got sacked,
Yep.
regardless of not having the quality of player needed to play that way. But the first time, or the last time I guess they came up, they were a little bit more pragmatic, but Romeo Lavia was still able to show his quality in possession, resisting the
Hmm.
press, playing through lines, dribbling through lines, despite all of that. So, just as a guy that I really personally was a fan of 2, 3 years ago, now he got that Chelsea move that was supposed to be his big move, and now he's only played in about 24% of minutes this season. I know last year he struggled with his injury. This year he struggled with some injury, but a lot of it is probably to do with selection. And you look at that midfield for Chelsea, not really something he could break into very easily. You have 200 million pound younger midfielders and someone who was considered one of the best players in the league last season. Not as much this year, but still a young player in Cole Palmer. I don't see how he can break through. So Romeo Lavia is definitely a guy I would look to get a move in the summer.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's actually had a little bit of momentum the last couple, I would say last month or so, when since he's actually been healthy, as you just kind of talked about. That's been a more of an if, not necessarily a guarantee for Chelsea since he's gotten the move. But since he's kind of been healthy and been playing, they've kind of started this new mid or this new constellation where Caicedo's at right back. And I know they've been kind of been tinkering with it throughout the season, but now they've really leaned into Caicedo at right back with Lavia and or Enzo, sorry, in that double pivot. And I don't know how much I love that. To kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, I know a lot of Chelsea fans are saying it's giving them a little bit more stability, a little bit more control. I don't know. I feel like you kind of just mentioned with Caicedo, he's a 100 million pound man, and I think he's actually been really good this year. Like I think he's been, dare I say, probably Chelsea's best player from start to finish this season. So I want him playing in the position that we paid 100 million to play him in. And I get it. People try and get cute and say, "Well, in possession, he's this and that," but it's like I just want him like out of possession, which he's arguably just as valuable out of possession as he is in possession. He's playing a different position, so um, And then the thing with Enzo is you would think, well, maybe you could move Enzo to the 10 and play Palmer out wide a bit, but I just don't think Enzo does a lot of his best work playing in that number 10 spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a defender, or he's a guy who needs to be able to see the field. Like, I like him more when he's able to scan the field versus when he kind of has his back to goal, which I think is what he was doing a lot as the number 10. So, and then not to mention, you talked about a packed midfield. They get Andre Santos back from loan this summer as well. He's been killing it for Strasbourg. I know probably have our reservations about Ligue 1, but where would you like to see Lavia? Because I don't know if I necessarily disagree with you. I don't know if Chelsea would be in a rush to sell him for less than what they paid for him, which is 50 million, and I find it hard to think of a team that would pay that unless you have one or two in mind.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not a team that would pay 50, and this might not even be a move for this summer. Maybe it's like one of those weird, like, within league loans where it's like we don't feel threatened necessarily by that team, so we'll let him play for them. We'll allow him to get minutes as long as it's not against us. And a team that I thought was interesting as I was sort of going through it was Crystal Palace. They have a sort of a weird midfield. I thought him and Adam Wharton, someone who's also struggled with injuries, would kind of, I think, play interestingly together. Romeo Lavia seems to be more of a pass completion type of player, whereas Wharton is more of that incisive line-splitting passer. Both of them, though, putting up good defensive numbers. Romeo Lavia is like 2 interceptions a game or something crazy like that. Right. So playing in like that...
For a heavy possession side, too.
Right. Playing in that 3-4-3 where they're both kind of expected to do a little bit of both, defending and progressing the ball forward, both on the dribble and through a pass. I think, obviously, it's a young midfield, but a very energetic midfield and a very productive midfield as far as getting them from their own half into the opposition half and not allowing the opposition to just run straight through the midfield despite being outnumbered. So that was an interesting idea that I thought of, but, you're looking higher and higher up the table. There's just such great midfields. I mean, maybe a Brentford could. Somewhere in there, they kind of have an aging midfielder with guys I actually touched on our last episode, like Jensen and Norgard, who are getting up there in age. Maybe some youthful legs in there would be good. But I mean, again, as you get higher and higher up the table, Chelsea would look at those teams more and more and be like, do we really want to help a team that we're kind of in competition with?
Right. Yeah, I think the only reason why Chelsea would maybe do it is I think Chelsea really, like 100% more than anything, need to bring in a left winger this summer.
Wait.
I know they're probably. I know they got Sancho, but I think to me that would actually be number one on their priority list of things to do this summer. I would bring in a left winger, and if you want to bring in a good guy, it's going to cost some money. So maybe you have to this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for Todd Bowley, like, eventually is going to come dry. Pause, because that was crazy. But so they need to kind of get creative with some moves and, like, maybe actually sell guys, while the guys that have value, So I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, it's true, but it's such a difficult needle to thread, like you said, where you want to sell them to a club that has the money to actually finance the move, but then not a club that has so much money that they're going to be competing against us for a spot, in, say, the Champions League next year.
Yeah, and I mean, Chelsea, the amount of money they've spent, and, they do have so much money coming in, they're going to have to start selling some of these younger players. I mean, even, look at guys like Gaga Slonina and, maybe a Romeo Lavia and guys like that are kind of just in that position where it's like they're not really a part of our long-term future. They're not really a part of our long-term plans, but we also don't want to undersell them. So maybe they could take, a small hit, like a 40 or 45 million pound move. And when you start talking about
it's still money at the end of the day.
I say when you start talking about those, in, again, like you said, the grand scheme of the whole billions of pounds project, taking a 5 to 10 million pound hit on Lavia to get that 40 million pounds in the short term might not be the worst, especially when you look at guys like Mudryk that they're not going to be able to ever get money for. And guys like
Yeah.
Caicedo and Enzo, who they might not be looking to sell, but they're not going to get anywhere close to what they paid for them initially.
Right.
So they're going to have to
Right.
start sifting through these midfielders and through these players, being like, this guy is or is not a part of this project, which is going to have to start rounding out a little bit more. It looks like Champions League football next year, and it's not just like a 5-year long-term thing. It's starting to now become like a season by season. What do we need now in next season, rather than just like, what are we going to need a decade down the line?
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Completely agree. Chelsea, some work to do this summer, no doubt about it.
So go on. Who's your first player that you thought, this guy definitely is going to need a move this summer? I know you're looking on the continent. I can just feel it.
You know me. You know me. I gotta get some tattoos on that passport, right? I am going with a young winger, which seems to be the position that ends up getting a move pretty much the most. And I am going with
As long as you're
Johan
not a French
Bakayoko.
winger.
No, we're going Dutch. Well, Belgian, but through the Eredivisie. We are going Johan Bakayoko from PSV Eindhoven. Had actually, it's funny, going into last summer, there was kind of rumblings about him maybe getting a move, maybe forcing like a Liverpool move, I think was really in play for him. And who knows if that was really in play or if they were just like, hey, Slot coached in Netherlands and Bakayoko plays there.
That's the classic.
And,
That's like Amorim right now with Gyökeres. It's like,
Yeah.
Gyökeres, he scored 50 goals this year. Does he want to join a team that's 16th or a team that's second? Damn, we don't know. Amorim, though.
Right, exactly. So I think people emphasize shit like that way too much. I don't know. Look, I mean, I think it'd be a decent move for Liverpool, don't get me wrong, but I struggle to figure out what Bakayoko's level is right now because honestly, as crazy as it is to say about a 22-year-old winger who you would think like for Eredivisie would be like kind of not in his prime, but like good enough to be more than established.
Right.
He's losing out minutes to Ivan Perisic at this point in his career, and Perisic is like 100. So like, are you telling me, could he be like, if you're saying could he be a Bournemouth target as like a Semenyo replacement if he ends up leaving? I don't think that's unrealistic. But if you also tell me, could he go to Liverpool as like the understudy to Salah, kind of work him in, get him some minutes, I could see that as well. Or I could see, just to throw a wild one out there at you, could I see him playing a right wing position at Juve next year? Absolutely. Because I think he's in that range where he's valued at 35 million right now. Talk to me. Why are you
can't
shaking
take
your head
my
now?
minutes away from my boy Conceição.
Well, okay, but that's the thing about Conceição, who I love. I was the first guy on the Conceição bandwagon. He's there on loan with like an option to buy. So
Right.
like I don't even know.
And then Juve's financial situation has been in flux for these past half decade or so.
Yeah.
So
Right, exactly. So a lot of factors going in there. I think Bakayoko could have a lot of suitors. Like even Germany. Like I think could he be a Leipzig if they
screams
get rid of
Leipzig.
Simons?
Screams Leipzig
Yeah.
from a mile away.
Leipzig or even Dortmund, something like that. If they get rid of Adeyemi or something like that. Like I could see him fitting so many different clubs that I just think he's ready for a move. So I know I mentioned pretty much every club on the continent just now, but I just think he's a suitor for a lot of people.
But you do see sort of like that pathway where it's like he's not quite ready for like those big, huge clubs. I mean, you mentioned Liverpool, but even that was just kind of like he could be an understudy, or he could make a big impact at like a Europa League level Premier League club, or maybe like he could get moved to not this specific club, but like maybe like a Leverkusen type of club, or like that sort of like punching up toward those big boys, but not quite what they're not quite the top cream of the crop. And those players are always really weird because I feel like so many summers we convince ourselves as fans that either players are willing to or clubs are willing to, like, oh, you're not quite at that top level yet, but you can go there and get that move and then sort of be an understudy. And they just never seem to happen. Like, there's so many summers where it's like, oh, this guy could become the backup left wing option for Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
and then he just doesn't. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
this dude could be the
Yeah.
backup striker option for Barca for a year, and then become the guy after 11. And they just never ever happens. So, not saying
Right.
that that kind
Right.
of move can't happen, but just based on history, especially recent history, it doesn't really seem to be a thing. If I were to put money on it, I would just he screamed Germany. I think that sort of Netherlands to Germany sort of pipeline, even though it
Yeah.
hasn't been as hot recently. I just think those styles
Mm-hmm.
of play are tend to be pretty similar, which is why the Leipzig players never work out. But that's neither here nor there.
One other club, and I know I named the entire continent. Well, two other clubs. I think Villa and Newcastle could do with some options on the right, and he would
Villa
be an
has just the
option.
weirdest winger options in the entire league for some reason.
Well,
Like
they
looks
have
like
they have
Morgan
options.
Rogers and Jacob Ramsey are like their wingers, and
Yeah.
neither of them are wingers.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like they have options. They signed like three guys in January who were wingers, like just straight up wingers. And Emery's like, nope, Jill gonna play Rogers and Ramsey, or McGinn is gonna play out on the wing sometimes and stuff like that. So you hit it right on the head.
Yeah, I do
So,
like him like just throwing people on the pitch now. Like in that front four, he's just like,
yeah,
"Hey, John McGinn, you're the slowest player on the entire pitch. Go play on the right for us." Hey,
yeah,
Asensio,
He'll be
you
the
didn't,
guy.
you weren't strong enough to play in La Liga. Go play center forward for a Premier League side, please.
yeah. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know, but I mean, shoot, Villa's still right there with 2 games to go or 3 games to
Hey,
go.
my
which I
prediction's
know
still
you're.
on for them
I was gonna
finishing
say,
third.
I know you're dreaming. I know you're dreaming. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Who's the next? Who's the next guy you've got up?
So the next guy I'm thinking is, and this one is pretty easy. I don't want to make too big of a deal of it because I feel like this move has been talked about for about 5 years now. Eberechi Eze, I just think this is a make or break summer. We kind of hear,
Yeah.
this basically decides, is he going to be like Elise or is he going to be like Zaha? Is he going to be a guy that's like a career Crystal Palace Premier League player and he's kind of not quite a streets will never forget player, but just like that type of like, oh man, it was fun to watch Palace when I was a kid because they had this really good player called Eberechi Eze. Or is he going to be just
Yeah.
a guy that we remember as a good player? If you had to guess, what percentage of Palace's goals in the league has he contributed to this season?
You know what's weird is for a while he didn't have a goal, but he had like so many shots on target. I'm gonna say a low number. I'm gonna say like right around 25%.
33%, which is a lot more. He's 7 goals, 8 assists in the league, and 45
Dang.
goals in 36 games for a team. Like, when we think of Palace, I guess we don't think of
Yeah.
like a flying team, but you think like Mateta's obviously got goals in him. Eze's got goals in him. It seems like Munoz
Even
gets
Sarr
like
this
3
year.
assists a game somehow. Um, yeah, they got weird guys that seem like they have goals in them, but they score just over 1 a game. So
Yeah.
he's been
That is
so
true.
integral to that side, getting about 80% of the minutes this year. Playing, and obviously, huge in that cup run that they've been going on.
Oh yeah.
So what? The only thing that I guess I'd ask you, because I didn't even really get this far, is like what club or like what kind of club even needs him? Because to me, again, he kind of is a similar case to Zaha, where it's just kind of like a give him the ball, kind of not the same type of player, but the same idea of like kind of give him the ball,
Yeah.
make runs around him, he'll find you, or he'll just get a shot off type of thing. Not saying that he doesn't play within a system, but he's not a crazy presser. He's not crazy athletic, even like
Yeah.
Zaha was. So, what do you think that he could fit into as far as like a bigger club or a step up?
Yeah, it's weird because the first two clubs that I thought of were Man United and Spurs, funnily enough. And
God, I would hate
exactly
it if he went
like
to
what you
Spurs.
well, the thing is, like, and I guess it really depends because I think Spurs, I don't think we know who their manager is going to be next season because I don't think it's going to be, or I think there's at least a very high chance that it's not going to be Ange, even if they win the Europa League, which is funny as hell to say, but I still don't think he is like a lock to keep the job. So if Spurs go to like a less pressing type of system, then maybe, because that was the thing. I was going to say United, but like you said, he's just really not a presser, not super athletic in that type of way.
Mhm.
So he almost like would need to go to, you know,
I mean, is he that Chelsea answer on that left?
see, I just,
And the
I
thing is,
don't,
I think the balance weirdly works because Kukurea likes to sort of come in central a little bit, and
overlap.
I think that him and Eze could sort of interplay a little bit. Whereas on the other side, you just have like people going crazy, assuming they don't play Caicedo there long term. You got Malo Gusto flying down that right flank with,
True.
one of either Neto or Nani who can only go at their man. That's their only skill,
Mm-hmm.
really. Is just like Pedro Neto just gets the ball, does this 4 times, and then whips something across the
Hits him
box.
with the Doku.
He lit. Well, Doku's like shaking his whole body. This dude Neto just shakes his head and then goes around the guy and puts something in the box. So
Fair.
it could be a weird sort of thing like that where it's like, all right, if we have the ball on the left, we're going to try to piece something together. And you know what player he
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of? And I'm not going to say reminds me of because the other player I'm about to say is much younger than Eze. But it's kind of like when Desiree Doué is playing on the left, where it's like, all right, when Kvaratskhelia is playing on the left, for example, he gets it, and he's clearly just going to run at his guy and get something in because he's really good
Yeah.
at that. But when Doué has it, he likes to get it, come in field, combined with Dembele, combined with Joao
Yeah.
Neves or whatever midfielder is the highest up the pitch. And that's sort of what I think. There was a huge ass flash of lightning out there. It just scared the hell
I
out of
know.
me.
I'm sitting right by my window right now, and I saw it at the same time. That's why I'm laughing.
So I think if
Um,
nothing else, it could be just like a change of like what you're looking for out of the winger, and can sort of create a weird system of balance in a side like Chelsea.
yeah, I think the only issue with that one, and then I don't know. I think him and Palmer ideally kind of want to take up the same spaces on opposite sides. So it's like you need to have, and then maybe you're saying, okay, whoever's playing on the right wing is basically playing all the way on the touch line, and then maybe Kukurea can overlap a bit more because you need to get some width some way. I guess I can see it.
Well,
It's not
especially with like
it's
the
not
midfield
horrible.
that they have, I think I can see it just because, like you said, so if they
Yeah.
have whoever, Nani or Pedro Neto all the way on the flank, then obviously you have Nick Jackson, whoever, at the center forward position.
Nick.
Uh, whoever their left back is, on the far flank, and then you have Cole Palmer and Eze sort of in those half spaces. And then I think they have a weirdly good balance with their other players. You think you see a lot of top sides now sort of adapting that 2-3-5 when they have clear possession in the attacking half. And then you see people like Malo Gusto, who's played in the midfield before, or Reece James when he's fit. So he's kind of coming into that right central space. Caicedo in that central space, and then Enzo in that left space, or switch him and Caicedo, however you would do it, with whoever the hell's going to play center back for him next year behind those. I just kind of weirdly think it brings some cool balance, and if him and Palmer are playing close enough to each other to be able to combine,
Yeah.
that's when stuff can get tricky. And then Nick Jackson's just running off the last man, scoring tap in rebounds or things where someone slipped in behind and he's just getting something slipped into him. I don't not rate him. I just think that if they gave him a very, very defined role of like when you're playing teams like Spurs, you're just going to get in behind a trillion times, like high line teams. But when we're playing
Yeah,
against sitting
absolutely.
defenses, you're just going to be on your toes, ready to pounce on something. I think he could be like a 18 goal scorer if they had got that many creative guys in their team like
Hundred
that.
percent. 100%. I mean, he had like 15 last year, so I like that one. I like that. The more you talk, the more you kind of got into it. I actually don't mind that move for Chelsea. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shock some people. Maybe even shock you. I'm staying on the continent, as they say. Guy who I think needs a move. This is more for the team, more so than the player. Although you could argue it for the player as well. Kobe Mainu.
So you're not staying on the continent, is what you're saying.
Or sorry, yeah, I'm not going to the continent. Sorry,
Man.
staying in the country.
Colby Mainu. I just When they started throwing
So,
in a striker like with a straight face and being like dead serious, I mean, this dude.
well, I think that said more about United's problems than necessarily Menu.
I mean, this dude a
To be
year
fair,
ago was legitimately like, does he have to start for England at the six because he's the guy
yeah,
that can get us out of our own half and play the ball forward and just progress the ball, period? Does he have to start
yep.
the six for England, him or Adam Wharton? And now it's like, hey, we need a goal. Who was it against? In the Lyon, we need a goal against Lyon. Go play striker, and then he somehow got it, which was even worse. But um, yeah, I don't. So sorry, I'm not going to hijack it. Why does he need a move?
No,
Where
no.
exactly is he? What exactly are you thinking? Is it a step up? Is it a sideways move? Is it a step down? What is it?
Well, look, to be very clear, I know they're not in the best period, and we're talking about a team in 16th, but or 17th, 16th. I think. I'm
16th,
pretty
Spurs,
sure Spurs
in
are
17th.
Which, by the way, Spurs being in 17th with a positive goal differential
Plus 4.
might be my favorite thing in history when you think about the fact that United, the year they made the Champions League under Ten Hag, had like a 0 goal differential. Just gotta
I
be the
think
funniest
Norwich
thing ever.
finished fourth with like a negative goal difference in like the early 90s or something like that.
That's actually hilarious. But the reason for the Mainu move is I don't think he has a natural spot in Amarim's system. And look, I think one of the biggest mistakes a club can make is say, all right, every single thing that we're doing is going to be because of this manager. We're making every single move for this manager. You know, because let's be honest, the managers come and go a lot quicker than
The
the most
players.
optimistic
Yeah.
person wants to realize, wants to think. Because I mean, there's already rumblings of like, is Emery even going to have the job next year?
Yeah, I saw a headline. It was like Man United says that he'll keep the job even if he loses the Europa League
Yeah.
final. It's like, what are we? Is that what the conversation is?
Yeah.
I must have missed that.
I was gonna say I didn't know that was ever up for debate, but
Yeah.
whatever. I'm not gonna sit here and say he's been amazing, but I think he deserves at least the summer. But so yeah, I don't think he has a natural fit in the system because I don't think he's athletic enough to play in the double pivot. And to me, the double pivot for them has looked best when it's been Ugarte and Casemiro this year, just as. And Casemiro's had a hell of a resurgence the last, really post Amarim. Honestly, I think he's had a hell of a resurgence. Has played really well. But I just don't think Mainu's enough of an athlete. I remember listening to ESPN FC one time, and your boy Stuart Robson, Arsenal legend, was talking about midfielders, and he just said it real simply. The midfielder, if you're playing in a two-man midfield, you have to be a hell of an athlete to play in that. Like, you have to be an awesome athlete to play. I think the conversation was talking about Kimmich when his athleticism first started to go. And it was just like how you have to be a super athlete to play in a two-man midfield. And Mainu, he is good at a lot of things, but that is not one of them. He's not really good defensively, can't track back that well.
Well, and that's what we
isn't an
discussed when we were
awesome
talking
presser.
about Lavia and Wharton, having that sort of
Yeah.
youthful legs and athleticism.
Absolutely.
Now, he has the youthful legs,
Absolutely.
but not necessarily athleticism.
Yeah, so I think Mainu needs to just be in a team where he's playing more in a midfield three. I think would be something. And, for United, they need to sign a lot of players, I think people think, and they need to create funds in order to buy those players. So I mean, if you can I don't think it's unrealistic to think you could get 50 million for Mainu, if not even more than that, maybe. And then all of a sudden you get that money for Mainu, and it's pure profit because he's an academy kid, and then you can use that to go buy whoever the hell that actually fits the system. Like, I don't think it's unrealistic. Now, the problem for me is thinking of a team that would be able to both afford him and would use him, because I think United, like, if they got the right offer, I think they wouldn't be so concerned with being like, man, we can't sell him to a rival, outside of like probably City or Liverpool. I don't think they would sell him to those two. But like, I thought kind of a sick move, and this would never happen, but don't you think PSG would be sick just putting him in there in like the Fabian Ruiz role?
I just can't imagine really anyone in the world out getting into that midfield other than those three. I mean, especially with the way, like, Zaire Emery is like, can't get any
Yeah,
minutes.
that's
And he
true.
was like the best young midfielder in the world like 2-3 years ago, which is crazy because he's 19. But
Yeah.
and now he can't even get a minute for that team. So I don't know. Yeah, even like looking down the league, like if you're looking at a guy like him, he wouldn't want to go to a side like an Everton or like a Wolves. Although,
Oh no,
geez,
God no.
if I if there was actually a club I'd want to just watch him play at, seeing Kobe Manu in that Wolves like fiasco where it's like you pick your head up
God.
sometimes, and there are people just standing in places that I'm just like, who that like? Do these people even practice? Like, do these people even train? Like, Pedro will just come and pick up the ball off of the left back and just turn
Yep.
and run across the pitch, and then he'll ping it to Cunha, who for some reason is standing on the touchline. And then then they'll swing in the ball, and Nori's attacking the penalty spot. And I'm like, what is happening in this game right now? No wonder they're at the game that's 5-4.
Yeah, Wolves have been a Pandora's box. I think is probably the nicest way you can put it for how they've been this season.
Yeah, so,
but also,
yeah, go on.
You know, and also, not to cut you off, but also like, could a team like Tottenham be a decent shout for him? Because I think they put a preeminence on creative / like attacking number 8s. And granted, again, this is still assuming we're in the Ange system, which could be a very different system next season. But I also think they put a preeminence on English-born players. Like I think Tottenham, for whatever reason, like their mantra, I would say more than any of the other traditional Big Six clubs, is more of a preeminence, like I said, on English-born players. So I don't know, but maybe I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Yeah, it kind of gets awkward when you're trying to fit him and hopefully Archie Gray and Bergvall and Dejan Kulusevski all in the same midfield, and not a ton of solidity. We don't really even still know what Archie Gray is because he's had to play at center half and right back so much this season. So weirdly enough, he might be the answer in there as sort of the defensive solidity, and you're not even throwing in. That's just the young guys. You're not even throwing in the names like Sarr, who's young himself, and Basuma and Bentancur. It's just like a who's who of like failed midfielders in there. So, I mean, Kobe Manu maybe could come in there and he could, raise the level a little bit. But I agree with. When you said his name, I was like, yeah, that he does need to move. But then I was kind of looking at all these different clubs, and I'm like, he might just have to go elsewhere. He might just have to go to like a weird, like a Eintracht Frankfurt, just to like get away from just England and just play some football.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he would want to move to like an equally. Like I would think he would look at Frankfurt as too much of a step down, but I wouldn't agree necessarily, or I wouldn't agree with his thinking. I would kind of agree with what you're saying, where he just needs to play and be like a guy who knows is going to start 35 games, because that's a weird thing. He's only played in 50% of the Premier League minutes for United this year, and I know he's been injured a bit, but even when he's been healthy, he hasn't been like a starter necessarily by any means. So it does get complicated. Who's your next guy? Give me some more guys you got. I know you've got a couple left.
Another pretty obvious one, and one that has been talked about a little bit, decent amount, and that's Brian Mbeumo. I mean, he's just a guy.
Okay, I'm actually so glad you said that. No, go ahead, keep going. Keep going.
Well, he's just a guy that really
like
I would love to see at a top side, but also scares the hell out of me at a top side, because it's like I could see it going really well where he's just able to get the ball against sitting defenses and just does like that little nick inside and get his shot off or get his cross off. Obviously, very physical, quick player. Seems to be obviously very tactically versatile in the way that he's able to play different roles on the right. Not as in like he can play all across the pitch, but he can play as like literally a right winger. He can play as like more of a center forward, that guy that comes in and plays the center forward, more as a right midfielder. So it kind of reminds me of, sort of a Bukayo Saka type of thing where it's like he can do all phases of that winger play. He's not just like, I'm a finesse guy that only give me the ball and get out of the way. He can track back. He can win the ball. He's physical, all this other stuff. But also I can see it going very wrong where it's like, all right, he's at a top side now. You only get a chance or two to try something a game, and you screw up both times, get hooked off in the 55th minute, and then it's like, my confidence is shot for a month. So what are your thoughts on what Mbeumo could do?
I think it would be an awesome signing if you could get him for if you could get him for 50 million, which I'm looking at now is his market value, which
Contract
means he's
expires
probably going
next
to go
summer.
for. Okay, so probably realistic then. If you can get him for 50 million, I think he's awesome. I think it'd be an awesome pickup for like borderline. I mean, like I'm trying to think of a Premier League club where I wouldn't be like that's a good move. Like even like obviously Liverpool, you would think like because he would want to play the exact same role as like a goal scoring right winger as Salah would, but like really anybody else, I mean, I don't think that there's a team that wouldn't do well with a Brian Mbuemo because one thing is the dude is just super durable and super consistent with his ability to play and run.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two things. Like the last 4 years, these have been his Premier League starts 34, 36, 22, and then 36 this year. So, yeah, you had the 1 year. But outside of that, I mean, even going back to his championship years, he made 36 and 37 starts each of those seasons, which, I'm not saying skill-wise it's the same league, but as far as physicality and all that, like it's definitely the same, if not even a level up. I think a lot of teams on the continent could do well with him. I think he's Premier League proven. I think he's a guy who, like you said, the versatility and also the fact that he can get shots off in a bunch of different ways. Like he can be kind of a recipient of something. He can be a guy who creates a bit on his own. He's a guy who can actually create for others a bit as well, So I think he has like everything you would want and can kind of play any role for you off that right-hand side.
Yeah, the two teams now that I'm looking at it a lot, like going deep dive into it. One that I think would just be straight up, he would just slot right in, would be a Villa. Right now, their most used right-sided player has been this year? Or their best performing right winger has been this year?
Jaden Philogene.
Leon Bailey. And he could definitely get in the side over Leon Bailey. And then another one,
100%.
Another one that kind of would scare me, honestly. And I think this team, not going to say title challengers, but it wouldn't shock me if they were in the top three, like really tight in the top three with like 8 match days left. If they got Mbuemo, would be Newcastle.
Newcastle. Oh yeah,
absolutely. I think Jacob Murphy's had an outstanding season. He's been brilliant, but I mean, there's a lot of history in the Premier League. If you're if you're a Newcastle supporter or someone that watched them a lot, he's been brilliant. He's never going to get replaced. As an Arsenal fan, I thought Aaron Ramsdale was legitimately one of the best goalkeepers in the league. Mikel Arteta thought otherwise, and he's been proven right every single week since. So that's just kind of how the business of it works. It's like, hey, you were great for us. Thank you. We brought in a better player. Go sit down somewhere else. Okay?
Right.
So I think if Brian Mbuemo went to Newcastle, where they play that, I still don't know how they get away with it. They're like a counter-attacking side, even though they're third in the league. I don't really know how they pull that off. But
he would fit that though.
That's what I mean. Like if
direct, hardworking, like all that.
If you're defending and running at you on the counterattack are Bruno,
Gordon, and Isak,
Joelinton, Isak, Gordon, and Mbuemo, like you're just a center back and you're like looking and you see all 5 of those guys, you're shitting yourself.
Yeah.
So that would not be a fun.
That's
team
a team that
against.
finishes. Yeah, that's a team that definitely finishes third, pushes second and first until, like you said, like the last month or two.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then again, if you're turning guys like Jacob Murphy into rotation options, then it gets even scarier. So, I think Brian Mbuemo to a team like a Newcastle would really, really, really be a scary sight. I'm going to go 2 in a row since I just brought this team up.
You're hot. You're hot right now. Give me another one.
Lewis Miley. And now I say this. And I'm saying it with a little bit of a caveat.
Right,
I want him to get like a really big loan, like a loan where it's like I put like
get some real minutes,
like a Harvey Elliott loan is what I said, and I mean it in this way. When Harvey Elliott went to Blackburn, and he was just like the best player in the league, they were like, we could, Liverpool was like, we could send you, back to like, let you be in a relegation scrap at Fulham, or we could let you be on like a lower mid-table side or something like that. We don't want that. We just want you to go out there and be the best player on the pitch every single week. And he was like, okay, cool. And he led the championship in assists, and he was an awesome, awesome player for Blackburn. I think that could be what Lewis Miley could do this next season. Now, we had that huge breakthrough last season where they sort of just ran out of
Yeah.
midfielders. They're like, all right, you're 17 years old, go play in the Champions League against PSG.
Yeah.
Go have fun.
Started 14 games in the league somehow.
That's what I mean. And then this year, all those minutes have dried up now that Bruno and Joelinton and all these other guys have been fit. I mean, shit.
Well, Tonali coming back.
I say
Yeah.
Tonali was suspended for half the season. He still couldn't get in the side. So that was a way that Lewis Miley could still potentially, I think, sort of take that next level step up. Is he maybe even like one of these championship sides that goes out in the playoffs, like a Coventry or a Bristol City, or some of these people, whoever loses the playoff final, like team that's pushing up toward the Premier League and just needs like that sort of like number 8 player that he could just walk into the side and play every single game he's fit. I think that could be a huge, huge step forward for Lewis Miley's development. And I think an underrated one, allowing a player to just go to a league and just be awesome rather than trying to push them, I think can be very, very beneficial for these, 18, 19, 20-year-old players.
Yeah, especially the youth. Because I still think, I like Miley as a prospect, but I still don't even know, what he actually is, what his role is in a midfield. Mm-hmm. So I think that'd be an exciting way to kind of... Because he's kind of like a guy who... it's weird where you call him, when they're young, you call him a guy who can do a little bit of everything. But when they're 26, you say they're a nothing midfielder. And I think Miley's better than that. So basically, I just told you he's going to get a Liverpool move in 2 years.
This dude literally has less than 300 minutes in the league this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. He started one game in the Prem. Started one game. So, and granted, I mean, you can't obviously criticize Newcastle because they found their midfield 3 and it's working, and it's going to probably end up with them in the Champions League. But, it's just tough to be able to develop players like Lewis Miley when you're fighting for that 3rd, 4th, 5th spot.
When you go from starting Champions League games one season to having more starts in the Premier League 2 than the actual Premier League, I'd say there's a bit of a development, path development issue. So
yeah,
I think Lewis Miley sort of needs that move to sort of, again, solidify himself as a player. Like you said, find exactly what you are. Get into the opposition box. Defend in your own box. Drift into wide areas. Show us exactly what you are, because you're just going to be the best player on the pitch, 9 times out of 10. So who was your last guy that you thought needed a move this summer?
Center back out of the Bully. I think Kim Min-jae. You need to start putting your house up for sale in Bavaria. I just straight up don't think he's been good enough. And this one's more of a, kind of a little bit like Mainu as well, where I think this is the team would want to move on from the player more so than the player would necessarily want to move on from the club. Mm-hmm. I think Kim... the thing is, he both struggles with physicality, but he struggles to really run in behind with guys and chase guys, basically. So it kind of puts you in a damning position where you can't really do either one of those. He's really good on the ball. I mean, granted, I don't know how much of that is the fact that he's just played in sides that have been heavily possession based. In his time, both in his 1 year in Italy and then his time that he's been with Bayern. But I just don't think he's right for this level. Now, the thing that he screams is, hey, I'm going to go move to Atletico and then actually be a warrior for them for a decade. And then people look up and be like, Kim Min-jae's 35, but yet he just outplayed every center back in the Champions League quarterfinal.
No, that's what he's going to do. And Inter's going to win in 2 weeks, and he's going to be the Cherby replacement when he retires.
I mean, I think Italy probably makes the most sense for him because it's like what I just said. It's not a super physical league, and it's not a league where there's a lot of dynamic running in behind. Mm-hmm. I think that's why he did so well at Napoli, because he was able to accentuate his strengths and didn't have to play on his weaknesses at all. So, like an Inter, a Juve, Milan have a laundry list of issues this summer, but if they could, I mean, I don't think, even a move back to Napoli, depending on what it would cost, I don't think any of those Italy clubs are going to be, or any of those Italian clubs are going to be in a position to say, no, we don't want, Kim this summer for the right price.
Right.
And I think Bayern are going to be bringing in at least 2 center backs. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, so the last guy that I had was, again, another weird one. I just want Wolves to make Jorgen Strand Larsen's loan move permanent.
Well, do they have? He's been really. I'll tell you a guy who was actually, not to steal your thunder, because I know you've been on his bandwagon all year. Ryder liked that dude from like match week 2. Like one of the first games he played, he was like, I really like that Strand Larsen. So
I have
when
it
you two are
somewhere.
overlapping on a guy, I like that.
I have it somewhere in my notes, like for one of the episodes where it's like we're talking about something, and one of the notes is just like, Strand Larsen can play. He just can. Like this kid. I mean,
No, he can.
This dude just
100%.
goes on and he just does stuff, and even when he misses stuff, it's just like, dude, this dude can play. Like he really can, and he looks
More
like
than Danny, though, right? He can more than play a little. He can actually play.
He can play more than Brendan Granison for sure. More than Danny, I'm not 100% sure. So, but yeah, this I keep calling this kid because that's what he looks like out there. He looks like Bambi on ice sometimes, but sometimes he looks like he can really move, and he can, like, he gets involved in build up. He's obviously ginormous. He can hit the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where he's like on
mobile
the
and
wing
physical
going
is a
at
good
people, and I'm like,
combination.
dude, you're 6'5". Can you get in the box, please?
Yeah, I know, right? It's he's perfect for like a physical, like you said. I mean, physical and can move in the Premier League for a relegation type side. It's the perfect type of combination, basically.
It's like if Liam
and he
Delap
has
was
a
actually
work rate
good.
on him.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud.
I thought you were a Delap fan for a bit. I thought you were a Delap
Well, I'm
guy
a Delap
for a
fan
bit.
when it comes to like him going to like Fulham, not when it's like, hey, he's going to get this huge move and be United's savior.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely. Anyone that thinks that is stupid. So
Well, you're going to have to tell that to the hierarchy of United then.
I'll tell them. I mean, it's the same guys who are criticizing, like, man, I thought Xerxes was going to be the answer. It's like, what?
He did have a hell of a run at Bayern, to be fair. He had a hell of a track record there, so.
I'm telling you, he set the record, though, for coolest looking opening goal. Like, he scored the winner in that Fulham win, like, just nicked it off his foot completely on accident,
Dude,
but he made it look like
out of it. Oh my god.
made it look like it was on purpose, and then like he does and I'm like, bro, this dude might bag 12 this year.
United has
and I think
to
he
have-
scored like one more after that.
United has to have the record for the most, like, debut, hit the ground running.
Well, who's the guy who has the one? Is like right on the 18. He like Cruyff turns a dude and then just puts it in the.
So they got
far post.
Makeda way back.
Yeah.
I literally watched Martial's debut.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. People were etching his name. We're trying to figure out what year he was going to win the Ballon d'Or once he scored that one.
I mean, Marcus Rashford scored a brace on his debut and then scored a brace on his Premier League debut against Arsenal. Yeah, we get it. And so it was like, oh, this dude's going to be like you said, the next Ballon d'Or winner. If you want to count this as one, like Ronaldo, when he came back to United, scored a brace at Old Trafford against Newcastle. And it's just like, dude, we got it.
Dude,
we got it again.
No
They're gonna sign Delap,
exaggeration.
and he's going to come on in the 78th minute and score like an absolute thunderbolt.
Header.
And he's just going to be like, it's like, finally, they found the striker that they've been looking so desperately for. And he's going to score 3.
No, that is a great. I still remember watching that Ronaldo game when he played against Newcastle, and I was like, bro, like, this shit's crazy.
Even
I was
as a
like,
dude
this is
that's
the
been
definition of aura
Like
right
the
there.
biggest Ronaldo hater and like a messy truther. Like, I was literally
there's
in
no
the
way you weren't
hotel
hyped for
room
that.
with Connor Werline on our senior road trip singing Glory, Glory, Man United when this dude scored his second, bro. I was like, this dude's the great. I was like, dude, this dude's the greatest player of all time. But then reality set in.
Oh yeah. Hey, he still had a decent year for him. I'll die on that hill.
Definitely did, but I mean, he just didn't press, which
Yeah.
30 seconds, I promise.
Yep.
People were
It'll be
like
2 minutes, but I'm
clowning
cool.
that logic, being like, oh, he doesn't press, all he does is score 18 league goals. And now all of a sudden people are glazing Luis Enrique for being like, see,
Yep.
now he gets his whole front
Yep.
line to press, and now he's in the Champions League final. It's like, that's what we were saying. We said that 4 years ago when Ronaldo refused to play defense, and now it's like, huh, see, all it takes is your forwards to play defense, and now you can be good.
We all know the rule. If it works and you end up winning trophies, then it's the best decision of all time. If you end up, hate to say it, but flaming out the way Ten Hag did, then you're an idiot.
Yeah.
There's no real science behind it, no formula, anything like that. It's just how it is.
I hope I'm still making content 10 years from now when we get to look back at Ten Hag's tenure at Man United
and say it was impressive.
and just see like the whole thing. Like what Bill always says about like, the reason I wrote the book of basketball was so people wouldn't look back and be like, was Karl Malone the greatest player of all time? I'm gonna have to start doing those podcasts. Like, was Ten Hag actually the best yet post-Fergie manager? I'm gonna have to do that.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Right now, I think he's in pole position. So
Somehow
it doesn't
it's
look
either
like
him or
Amarim's catching him
Solskjaer,
anytime. Yeah, fair enough. Although Ole got him the Europa League, if that counts.
Mourinho.
Or yeah, sorry, Mourinho. Yeah, got him the Europa League, which who knows? Amarim could match that in a couple of weeks.
He also was first team all press conference, Mourinho, when he was Man United manager.
I'm telling you, I still and I know you're gonna take exception to it because he was talking about your guy, but I still think one of the coldest moments ever is like Mourinho barely speaking English, being like, I am not the bottle, and then won the league 2 years in a row. Like his first 2 years in England.
I thought you were going to say,
I still think that's like one of the funniest things.
Finger,
I'm a specialist in failure.
Yeah, I was like, okay, cool. I mean, this dude literally Mourinho every single week, and it actually got worse when he went to Spurs. But this dude would just give a quote out. I was just like, is this an actual insane person?
3-0.
This dude lost 3-0 and decided that his post-match press conference was going to be, what was the score? 3-0. You know what that means? 3 premierships for me, 0 for the other guys. Or 1 for
like
the other
that.
guys, or something like that. I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. He was like, 3 premierships for me. I won 3 alone.
That's more than the other guys combined. That's what it was, because there was, I think there was 2.
Because the other managers had 2, I think, combined. Yeah.
This dude's an insane
And it was
person.
like this. Yeah. The dude lost his mind, and then he went to Turkey, and people were like, "No way, a league with even less like oversight." No,
I mean,
you're
waiting
kidding.
for the official in the parking lot was like all time, like Sunday League meets or Europa League.
All time, but also not surprising at all if you've been following the guy the last half decade to a decade.
True. All right,
So,
let's leave the world of football. Let's go into some NBA. All right, NBA playoffs are now upon us.
Heck yeah.
Actually, I think they ended last night, so not really much to talk
Hey,
about.
man. My whole season was 2 days ago, and I don't even. We're not even going to talk about the lottery, the injustice that was that. I mean, all jokes aside,
I forgot about you guys being in the lottery.
the Wizards. I mean, I rush home from work, like get off right at 7. The lottery's starting, but I know they're not actually doing the order till about 7:15. Like,
And your guys'
and
name
I'm
was
like, all right,
already
I
up
gotta-
there.
I'm zooming home, and I'm watching it on my phone while I'm driving, which kids don't do as I do. And you see the Wizards come up at 6th,
That's
and you just
impossible.
go,
yeah.
"What the hell?" Like, I'm no joke. I'm almost positive that was like the second lowest pick we could have gotten, because we had the second worst odds of anybody.
Yeah, the lowest,
So,
literally
I
the
mean-
lowest pick you could have gotten was 6th.
Yeah, and we got it. And I think Utah was, I think
Yep.
their lowest they could have gotten was 5th,
and they got fifth. Yeah.
So I'll be honest, just to do one quick minute on the lottery, because I don't want to derail it. When you see the final, because you know how they do it, where they go to the final 4, and then they take a quick commercial break. When it's Charlotte, Philly, San Antonio, and Dallas as the 4, I don't know if you're watching it live, but what would be going through your head? Because mine is it better fucking be Charlotte, and I don't give a shit about the rest.
I mean, as someone who doesn't care about really any of those teams, I kind of just was like, don't be the Sixers because like they've been the bane
Yep.
of my
Yeah.
lottery existence. Which is funny. They actually took the crown. They snatched the crown off of
From
Cleveland's
you guys.
head. Yeah,
exactly.
of being like, hey, you guys are back this year? Yeah, all right, yeah. See you guys later.
What
We'll get the one.
I tell you, it was Cleveland's impressive because afterwards, people, of course, everyone's screaming conspiracy theory as soon as Dallas gets it. Which, look, as much as I want to believe the lottery is rigged, I just like truly in my heart of hearts don't. I just don't think it is. But they start going about like, oh, all the other times the lottery's been rigged. And they name like 3 different times for Cleveland. They're like LeBron 03, LeBron when he left in 2011, LeBron when he wanted to come back in 14. It's like, shit, have the Cavs, you think have they ever won the lottery just like legitimately, quote unquote? I guess the Anthony Bennett year was the only like legitimate one, which we see how that went. How that went.
I mean, I almost made fun of the Sixers just now for like the Markel Fultz pick, but I kind of forget. You know what?
Go ahead, just make fun of them. It's fine.
Is it
Who cares about the Sixers?
Is it awful to say that Anthony Bennett can't be the worst first overall pick of all time because like the other options just aren't good enough? Like, is that a possible argument you could make?
You're saying because the other options at number one
Like,
weren't good enough?
No one's like, bro, we could have gotten Oladipo.
Yeah, you didn't pass on or you didn't pass on Tatum to draft Fultz.
Exactly.
Is what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, look, because obviously the best guy from that 13 class is Giannis, but no one, I mean, like if Giannis would have gotten drafted first, the GM would have gotten fired as soon as he announced the pick. So it's not even.
Yeah, no one's
like
killing.
That's not even
No one's killing
realistic
Cleveland, being like, they should have taken Jokic instead of Wiggins. Like what?
Yeah, exactly. Like no one's saying that. Damn, I mean,
Because it goes Bennett,
Oladipo
Oladipo,
was
Porter,
pretty good.
Zeller, Lynn, and I'm not gonna do backflips over any of those guys, including Oladipo.
I think the thing that's tough is Oladipo is significantly the best, or easily the best guy from the lottery that year, as far as career, and there was serious momentum for him to go one, even right up until the draft, and then the Cavs just kind of completely went off the radar by selecting Bennett. So while I agree with you, you can't really kill him because the other options weren't like you didn't pass up on Hall of Famers to draft Anthony Bennett. I don't know. I feel uncomfortable talking about Cleveland in the lottery, to be honest.
I also want to do
anti.
another one of those future podcasts on this entire 2013 draft. Like Giannis is literally like beyond carrying this draft on his back. Like it's literally, it's literally.
I mean, he's the
than,
only guy.
It's literally worse than the 2000 draft if Giannis isn't in it.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess the second best guy. I mean,
Is
we're talking about
Oladipo
Oladipo versus McCollum. Or McCollum if you're going for like.
I think it'd be
at least
peak
McCollum averaged
Oladipo
20.
career probably.
Sure.
McCollum, yeah. But anyway, yeah. Let's not derail it too much. Let's keep it on. Bullshit.
Get back on topic.
Bullshit. Okay, so our topic is supposed to be NBA Panic Meter. So if you're a Wizards fan, so like what?
I am.
So like what?
I am.
Do you guys even panic anymore, or is it just like?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the Wizards like the entire. So we get the 6th pick. I'm pissed. Like furious, like dropping F-bombs every other word. Sheena's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And I tell her, and she's like, "Shut up." And like I'm losing my shit. And then I watched. That's the same night as Warriors Timberwolves game 4, I believe. Yep. And by the end of that game, this is my whole plan. This is like for the Wizards. This is my thing. Sign and trade for Kuminga. Give him start him at $30 million a year if we have to. Sign and trade for Kuminga to the Wizards. Build around Kuminga, Bub Carrington, Alex Sarr.
And Trey Johnson.
That's going to be our guys. Well, I mean, the 6th pick, I mean, it's crazy as hell to say this, but it's a sunk cost at this point to me. Like, it's... Like, because there were literally 5 guys where I was like, okay... Like, because like you know me, like I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit like I watch college basketball because I don't. But like there were 5 guys where I was kind of like, all right, I could wrap my head around like these 5 guys, and like I don't know shit, so who knows if they're even the 5 guys that are gonna go in the top 5. But I was like, Flag, obviously, Harper, Ace Bailey, who I do have some reservations about, but I need to do more research. The guy who I was really like, this is just to give you my mindset, where I was like, all right, the Wizards, if we really settle, we'll end up with Edgecombe, VJ Edgecombe, the wing from Baylor. And then I was like, all right, if all else fails, we'll get Derek Queen at 5 and just pair him with Sarr. We'll have 2 bigs. Seems like the league is going a little bit bigger now. And now it's like, shit, all 5 of those guys could be off the board. So.
Well, you might be in luck. Derek Queen is mocked at 11 on ESPN, so.
Yeah, so maybe, I mean, who knows? Again, like I said, I didn't watch hardly any of it. I'm going to start to do some research now because I actually care a bit.
Isn't that the worst, too, when you actually have to, like, crunch some tape and because you don't have a top 2 pick or top 3 pick, so it's like, God, I actually have to research. Yeah. That's how it is with the Cowboys every year. Because it's like, we always have, like, those mid-teens pick, like late teens, early 20s, and it's like, now I have to crunch left tackle footage on this dude to see, like...
Yeah. Well, the Cowboys are taking a lineman regardless of which pick we have in the first round.
Unless you're taking a white linebacker.
That's just law. Or a running back that's going to be on the team for 5 years. Which, by the way, I still hated the Zeke pick. I have tweets that say I wanted Ramsey over Zeke, even back then, and I got called crazy for it. So let's get on to the actual topic, though, that we were going to discuss, which is the playoff panic meter. Set this up because I think you really had a good idea for like what this topic is actually supposed to be.
So initially, when we were talking about this episode about a week ago, I kind of wanted it to be like, all right, based on how they're doing in their series, how their season's gone so far, how panicked is the team? Because like Cleveland had like just lost game 1, the Celtics had just lost game 1. I don't remember if the Nuggets won game 1 or game 2, but
they did.
Yeah, but they won.
They won 1.
And so it kind of was like, oh my God, we're going to have like 6 versus 7 in one conference and then like 3 versus whatever in the other 5 in the other conference. Like, oh my God, this is going to be crazy. So that's initially what it turned into. Now I'm kind of looking at it as like, based on what's happening in the league, like these playoff teams are panicking for their futures on a scale of 1 to 10. So, for example, I had my Cavs up here, even way back, like I said, a week ago.
Yeah.
And I truly don't think that there's any panic. Obviously, I've already seen the Atlanta Hawks comps, the 2015 Hawks comps, where it's winning the East and they're just getting the shit kicked out of you in the playoffs. But Not to give excuses, but it's like we did have some guys hurt in different games and returning from injury and stuff like that. So does it suck to lose? Of course. But first year of our new head coach, probably going to win Coach of the Year. Got the Defensive Player of the Year, who's like a 22-year-old. So I don't think it's time to like hit the reset button, especially in my opinion, like in a way you brought up, the way the league is going. The league is kind of going away from, because the NBA we kind of grew up on and have experienced for the better part of 20 years. It's like, all right, who has the best player? Okay, yeah, they're going to win the series. Not really how it works a lot of times now. I mean, like you said, you have a lot of 2 big teams coming back. We're very confident in our 2 bigs. 2 bigs shooting, and then 1 or 2 creators on ball. And we kind of have that formula. Not saying that Donovan Mitchell is as good as Anthony Edwards or Jason Tatum or Luka Doncic, but he, especially in the playoffs for some reason, can trade punches with those guys. And our front court, there aren't many front courts in the league that I would take over ours as far as what they're asked to do. I mean, Jared Allen, just as far as rolling to the rim with his hands up, ready to dunk something, and then protecting the rim. And then Evan Mobley can not do anything in the way that I'm saying like he's LeBron or anything, but he does a little bit of everything. Yeah. He defends on the perimeter a little bit. He's an on-ball guy. He can help off the ball and then get like a weak side block. He rebounds well for his position. He's becoming better as a scorer. And I think as he starts to progress, he's already at all-star level. He's already at a defensive player of the year level. So if he can just tick up his offense by like one or two, like one or even two more ticks, then I think he can actually be the guy that's the difference maker along with Donovan Mitchell. So I don't think, especially like I said, because our coach is a new coach, I don't think that even the organization is going to press the panic button. And we are the Cleveland Cavaliers at the end of the day, so our fans have no expectations if LeBron isn't on the team.
Answer this, riddle me this. If there's
Hold
some
on.
way,
Okay, go.
if there's some way, and I don't even know if this is possible or it would make sense, because to me the biggest issue with Cleveland, especially in the fourth quarter of Game 5, is they just didn't have enough options creating shots. If there's any sort of way you can do a Jared Allen plus sweetener for Reeves, would that make any sense for Cleveland? I know obviously you'd have to worry about being able to play three small guards to get, or two small guards, and then Reeves, who would essentially be playing the three, who would be a small three. And then Mobley all of a sudden, like, it gets rid of the size thing that you said is kind of like the calling card for Cleveland,
Correct.
but it makes you super dynamic on the wing scoring wise.
I honestly think, and this is going to sound crazy because it seems like everyone on our team kind of fits this bill as far as our backcourt. But I just think we just need better, like more reliable shooters, because I think we kind of saw with the Timberwolves. I think we should sort of pattern our team sort of around what they do. They had guys that were reliable. That we either need better shooters or better defenders on the perimeter. One of the two. All right. Because if we're going to have super reliable shooters and we're going to win these 121 to 120 games, that's perfectly fine. But if not, then we need these guys to actually be able to play defense and not Max Strus and Ty Jerome turnstiling on the perimeter, stuff like that. But
Do that again? I didn't.
so goofy closeouts, and it's just like we need to be one or the other. Like either just absolutely lights out, knockdown, because that's what we were in the regular season. It was like Strus is shooting like 40%. Ty Jerome shooting like 40%. Donovan Mitchell shooting like 40%. Garland's getting better as a shooter. And then that allows those big guys to then be able to just pick and roll. Evan Mobley expanding his game out a little bit, but still likes to be near the basket. Often, when he's trying to actually score. So I just think that we need to. But I just think that we need to actually have a sort of set identity as far as our backcourt, because our front court I think can fit sort of what Minnesota's been able to do with Randall and Rudy, where it's just like, hey Rudy, just go stand next to the basket because you're tall as shit, and we can just throw it to you if we need to, and you can just place it inside the basket. And then Evan Mobley, you can kind of be like our high screen guy, can get some post up looks every once in a while. And then we have guys in the corners that can either make shots or just defend their asses off, so it doesn't really matter. And at the end of playoff games, a lot of times it's just going to turn into what all NBA offenses turn into, where it's like, here you go, Donovan, make something happen, buddy.
Yeah, and look, like, as much as Donovan Mitchell, kind of like what you said, would anyone ever put Donovan Mitchell as a top 5 player? Absolutely not. Top 10. Probably not. Although there was definitely some conversation, when the Cavs were like 40-1 this year, where Mitchell was like, "Is he a top 10 guy?" But when it comes to the playoffs, that dude can score with those level of guys. Those guys who put up, shit. He had like 40 in like 3 of the games in this series. And that's with being underwhelming and injured. In especially that 5th game. Which, by the way, I still got to say, him going to the line and missing those 3 free throws, still one of the most shocking things, like, of all time. I'll tell you, I got to be on. Did you watch the game at all last night?
I only caught the highlights.
Mitchell got blocked by Miles Turner on like a breakaway in the 4th quarter, and I felt bad because I was like, as soon as that moment happened, I was like, I knew Cleveland was going to lose. Like I knew Cleveland was going to lose as soon as that happened.
So it wasn't when we
And I was
blew a
like, damn.
19-point lead in the middle of the second quarter. I didn't even know that was possible.
That was a dead giveaway, but it was like confirmed with that. So, yeah, Cleveland just looked really inept offensively on the perimeter, and that was, it hit on another thing you said. Like all of a sudden, the defense, like all of a sudden, Nemhard is like getting wherever he wants and like just scoring, and Tyrese Halliburton is like the best player in the freaking NBA, which I don't know how that's happened, but it just has.
And
like,
what you
God,
just said
man.
is like an underrated part of specifically basketball, where it's like you kind of have different guys guarding different people depending on matchups and who's on the court, who's off the court, that kind of thing. But when individual guys that you look at and you're like, oh, that guy's fine, or that guy's not that great, or that guy's whatever, when they just start getting off, like just period, overall,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it's like a sign that something defensively is falling apart. Like with the
absolutely.
Lakers. When everyone watched the Lakers, it was like, shit, Rudy has 30. Something is wrong. Like even people that
That
don't
was
watch
true.
the sport can be like, I feel like a guy that averages 11 shouldn't have 30 in a closeout game. I feel like that
Yeah,
just shouldn't
it's
happen.
probably
And that's what, like you said, it happened with Nemhard. It's happening with Halliburton. And you can kind of clearly see why in each series. Halliburton, he's playing against who are the backcourts that he's played against so far. And there's kind of your answer right there of why he's able to score so freely.
yeah. No, that's fair. That's a very good point. So overall, you're putting the panic meter for Cleveland, like let's say 1 to 10. Where you placing
I
it?
put it like a 5. I think it's more disappointment than like panic. And obviously, you're panicked if you're a 1 seed and you're going home in the middle of May or in the early parts of May. But we're not enough to be like hit the nuclear self destruct button now. Go on.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a 7-ish. I mean, I don't know because it's like if there was a trade where you had to get rid of Allen to improve the perimeter scoring and wing depth just in general, I would do that. But outside of that, I don't know how much I would really look to move this team around.
Yeah, I guess I would
Um,
not do that, especially because, like I said, the simplicity of
yeah.
what that big man move, like what that big man's role truly is. And it's like not just saying you
Mm,
could put any 7-footer there, but most competent 7-footers would be able to do 80% of what Jared Allen does. And if you're improving the
right.
perimeter,
Obviously not as good defensively, probably, but like you said, stand there with their hands up type.
correct, exactly. So, I mean, ask the Lakers if they want Jared Allen.
Shit. No kidding. No
So,
kidding.
although it might be the
Um,
ugliest guy in the league, so they might actually dock some trade value from him.
yeah, that's true. Not enough swag to be in LA.
So another one I was thinking of even at the time, and now it's just gotten like it's blown up a million times. The Celtics.
Hmm.
What?
Yeah,
Hold up.
this one is more. This one is worse. Like I'm
They're,
Cleveland's
they're
definitely
currently
bad,
winning
and
in
I
the
know
middle of
like
the third quarter, so in Game 5. But yes, go on.
okay, fair enough. I mean, look, they could very well win this game. I think Doc Rivers' rule comes into effect, no doubt about it, where when the star player is no longer on the court for the other team, it actually hurts because then, like, naturally the Knicks guys just don't play as hard or don't take it as serious.
Which is
And look,
hilarious.
it's not even a critic. It's not even a critic. Yeah, I know it's funny to say that about a second round playoff game.
I mean, Derek White has
But, like,
30
it's
for
just-
some reason.
Well, because Derek White's really good offensively. He hasn't been able to guard Brunson worth shit in the last couple of games, but he turned into Steph like on both ends of the court somehow the other day. He had like 7 threes and then just gave up like 50 points. But this Celtics team, I think, is going to look a lot different next year. They got crazy tax stuff. Horford's a free agent. Cornette's a free agent. I was going into this round, like obviously before Tatum, or well, really probably just going into this game being like, because they were down a lot in Game 4 even before Tatum got hurt, and I'm like, man, like what if they end up losing? How different could this team look? And I was like, well, Horford will come back on like a minimum deal or something really cheap because he just wants to keep winning. But this Celtics team isn't going to win shit next year if Tatum's not playing. Like, I'm sorry. Is it still a decent team? Yes. Could they maybe make the play-in, maybe even make the playoffs without him if they got the absolute max out of everybody else? Yes. But I think Porzingis has looked atrocious in the playoffs. I mean, he's looked like you watch the footage of him from this year and you're like, this is what it looks like right before someone retires. Like, because he couldn't post anybody up. He can't drive on anybody. He's not making any threes, and he can't move on defense. Like, it's like, what else is there for a guy who, was like, obviously, who's only 29 years old,
right.
and two, like, wasn't the reason the Celtics won, obviously, because he barely played in the finals or even in the playoffs, but, like, was a guy who was, like, a huge difference maker when he was available for that team. He took him from being really, really good to, like, damn near being unbeatable when he was playing well. Now you start to have crazy conversations of like okay, this is what it is. Of the 5 guys that they have that are making money, Brown, Tatum, Holiday, Porzingis, White, all 5 of those guys scheduled to make at least $30 million next year. Derek White's at 28, but we'll round up. All those guys scheduled to make $30 million or more. Tatum and Brown are at $50 million. So if you have to trade 1 or 2 of those guys, who would you say are like the most likely candidates?
I mean, I guess you would say Porzingis, but with his value, it's like, what is like?
It's like, what are you?
It's
getting?
like you're getting an expiring, broken down Porzingis. So I guess I would just eliminate his name, and then at that point, it goes down to Holiday or White, and I guess you would trade White just because he has the higher value because he's younger. Like Drew Holiday, I don't know how much you're going to get back for a 30, unless it was like a team that was truly like a Drew Holiday away, which I don't even know what that would look like. Maybe if like
Dallas
or like a Minnesota was like, if we had a real point guard then to play with.
Yeah.
To play.
If Minnesota lose in the West Finals or something like that.
Yeah, they're like, I'm tired of being second fiddle. Let's make
Conley
a real
spot.
move and get a vet guy to play with Anthony Edwards, an extra defender, that kind of thing. So I guess I would say
that's actually kind of a nice move.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the fact that he's 35 and is
has 3
owed
more
like $100
years.
million the next 2 years. Yeah, that's not awesome. But like you said,
but I mean, as the history of the league, especially recent history of the league, has shown, like, people are willing to make what looks like pretty ridiculous deals if they feel like their window is now. And especially if you're a market like Minnesota, who have never had success, and you get to 2 straight Western Conference Finals, and then you try and look your best player in the face and be like, "Yeah, we're sorry, we're not going to make your team any better. Deal with it."
And also, it's a franchise that's not really going to be like a player in free agency. Like, it's not like they're like, man, we got to save our cap space for for Bronny in 3 years.
You
or
have to
something
save
like
cap
that.
space for that.
We're gonna get Bryce on the mid level or something like that.
If he makes the NBA, I actually might have to quit.
No, I think that solidifies Braun as the GOAT. I think that's like Braun putting 2 kids in the NBA when Jordan could only get his son to go to UCF. Like,
now, flame out of UCF
man.
is what you meant to say.
Yeah, exactly. No, but on a serious note, I really agree with you. I think it has to be. I would actually move Holiday more. Like, I would do everything possible to move Holiday. I wouldn't even care if I didn't get like an awesome, like super awesome return. Like, obviously, I'm not just going to accept like whatever for him, but like if you're able to really get off Holiday's money, like,
so basically, you're just like throwing away next year, is what you're saying with that trade.
Yeah, I mean, throwing it away combined with like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but like, can Pritchard and Baylor Shireman, like, they both would have to take a step up. Because you're not bringing back. The first guy you're trading Hauser, no doubt. Hauser's like the 7th man on the team. They signed him for 4 years, like $44 million. There's no way they can afford to keep him. He's gone, and then like again, you want to trade Porzingis, but like, Porzingis is on and expiring, so you actually have to get somebody back who has a contract. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what would be... And there's no way in hell you're getting someone better than Porzingis unless they're on a worse contract.
Right.
So I think Drew would actually have to be the move as well. So I mean, and then that's where Pritchard and Shireman kind of step up as like, I mean, shit. At that point, both of those guys would end up being starters,
yeah.
Which would be crazy. But like, I just don't think. I think Jaylen Brown's a really good player, but he would be a different type of limited as the number one option for 82 games on a team that actually tried to do some stuff.
Finals MVP.
So, and Tatum is out like all of next year. Like, let's just go ahead and say it. He had the surgery for the right torn Achilles. Tatum is out the rest of this year, all of next year. I don't want to hear shit about if Boston's 38 and 34. They're like, man, Tatum could be ramping up for the playoffs. Don't be surprised if he plays the last couple regular season games. This dude is the entire franchise. And I mean that in every sense of the word. He is the entire franchise. Do not rush him back. The only person who's come back from an Achilles and looked decent immediately was KD. And that's because KD was off for like 20 months.
Yep.
He wasn't out for like 10 and a half. If you wanted Tatum back for next playoffs, you'd be talking about like 10 and a half month recovery, which is not possible, not realistic. So I think you lose Tatum all of this, the rest of, this game, and then all of next season. And then you hope like hell going into 26-27, like Tatum's ready to roll. Brown is still there. And what could you have developed with like maybe you use next year to like find out who your 7th or 8th guy, can be. That's like best case scenario. I think the Celtics are really, I just think it's really crazy, honestly, for them. Seriously, like it's. Imagine like where the Celtics were feeling like after winning Game 3 a couple days ago, where they're like, man, we beat the shit out of the Knicks in MSG. Fuck this, we're about to win the next 3. Like, I saw Celtics in 6 all up and down my timeline. And I know Twitter's not the best polling place for fan bases, but I was seeing that all over the place. And, and now all of a sudden, like, 24 or like 48 hours after that, now it's like, holy shit, is this franchise, like, where is this franchise? So it's crazy. It's crazy to me.
One more panic meter that I kind of wanted to get on, and I think you, the fans, as well as Chad, will find this a little bit more lighthearted than the last one, I guess we'll say, because the Celtics one is pretty sad.
Jeez.
Adam Silver, how much is he panicking getting a Pacers? Now, he will get Knicks, so that's a big market. So he'll get but he'll have Pacers, Minnesota, and if he gets Denver if those are 3 of the 4.
Really? Shoot, if you're talking just straight up market wise.
Well, you say either, but OKC has weirdly become like a cool team.
Hipster team type.
And honestly, they've been a hipster team for like
since they moved there.
Literally since they moved there. Like, it's been like, oh, they got KD and this cool James Harden.
And even funnily enough, even the last couple of years of the actual Supersonics is like a hipster type, like Ray Allen. Oh, they got Rashard Lewis stepping out hitting threes. Like 20 years, that's been the franchise's legacy.
Exactly. So like if all hell breaks loose and they somehow lose, and if you have Denver, who has the most unmarketable superstar in the league, and people are trying to go out of their way to shit on him just to make him relevant, Jokic, and then you have 2 of the smaller, like, no one gives a shit markets in the Pacers and Minnesota. Now, the cool thing about Minnesota is they do have maybe the opposite of Jokic in the most marketable marketable individual 100%. Player, but the market sucks ass. But then you have the Knicks, where it's kind of like, even if you're trying to market it, like, people aren't jumping out of their seats to be like, oh shit, it's Brunson versus Halliburton in the Eastern Conference Finals. This is going to be awesome. Brunson's a great player, but I don't really think that the average watcher is like going to be doing jumping jacks for that matchup as like the 2 best players in a Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, look, if you're comparing it to like years past where you've had like a Giannis in the East Finals, or like kind of the historical thing of the
Curry,
Celtics
Harden
plus Tatum
battles.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely not those guys. Obviously LeBron, not even close to any of those guys.
Yeah, the LeBron Jeff Teague battles back in the day.
Shout out Club 520. Um, yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know. Like, I think New York is big enough. Like the Knicks fan base, I think it's weird to say it's underrated, but I think it is just because the Knicks have been irrelevant for so long that now that they're actually like, I mean, the Knicks are we have to say the Knicks are back. Whatever that actually means. Like the Knicks are back. They'd be going into the East Finals as favorites, no doubt about it. Even though I think Indiana is definitely a good ass team. Um, I think the New York like media sphere combined with the actual fan base could be enough to carry them against whoever as far as media ratings and like viewership.
Mhm.
But as far as marketability, so God, I mean, I guess his best case scenario for marketability would it be Knicks OKC or is it Knicks Minnesota
Knicks,
because of the
Minnesota,
Yant
I think
factor
to me, because I think actually
and because of the trade.
the trade and also weirdly enough, I kind of forgot about that, but weirdly enough,
I know
um, OKC, like I said, they're the hipster team, but now that I'm kind of thinking about it, they've actually kind of become like the villain over the past couple of months
opposite. Yeah,
of the NBA because it's like everyone's talking about the Shea foul baiting thing, and it's just kind of like, oh, SG
ethical hoops.
ethical hoops, and oh, SGA, like he's a fraudulent MVP, which I can't really disagree with, just because
He hasn't been awesome. He hasn't been awesome through the
it hasn't been
playoffs so
awesome for the
far.
playoffs, and also it's like when the golf, like I get it, it's not all stats based, but when the golf on both impact and stats is so great, where it's like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, this dude's team is by far the best collection of players, like 1 through 15
Yes.
in the league,
Yes.
and he's barely able to beat the other guy whose team. You look at it sometimes, you're like, this team legitimately sucks ass, and is like negative
Um,
15 with him off the court every single time he comes off for more than 2 minutes.
I'm telling you, dude. Aaron Wiggins. I watched the game the other night. I think it was last night. Aaron Wiggins, who's like the seventh or eighth man for OKC, had a play where he got a steal on ball, dribbled down, came down or whatever, ended up catching the ball in the corner, like two dribbles towards the basket, and then made a skip pass through three guys to someone on the opposite wing. And I was like, I don't know if Denver have three guys on their entire roster that could do that thing. And this is OKC's eighth fucking man.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with what you're saying from the value standpoint. But this is the age old question of like, what does MVP
Yeah, it's not what
actually
it
mean? I
is.
know the word. Yeah, I was gonna say it's really just like, hey, who's the best player on an awesome team? 99% of the
Yep.
time, which even that you can still say, well, hasn't been that every time either. Real quick from you though, what do you think? Who do you actually think comes out of OKC Denver? Because that's the only series that I would say is even in any sort of limbo at this point. Denver, as we're recording, OKC's up 3-2. Game 6 is going to be in Denver on Thursday night. So, what do you think?
I would still say OKC, but I think it's going to be
Yeah.
in 7. I don't think they're going to be able to close it in 6. I think, you know what 6 actually screams to me is like huge Aaron Gordon game for some reason. Like I'm feeling like 26 and like
He's been really good in this playoffs.
yeah, like 26 and like 15 from Aaron Gordon. And you're kind of like, my favorite part of watching these playoff games is like when it's 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter and, everyone's jogging down the court and Mike Breen or whoever's like, and Aaron Gordon has just been terrific. He had,
Yeah.
that's like my favorite part is when he like tells you who the player of the game is basically with 5 minutes left. It's
Yeah.
like when we're
Oh,
watching,
yeah,
when I'm
absolutely.
watching like back when the Cavs could win. It's like, and Donovan Mitchell back at his best again. And they do like those cutaways of like people going like right in someone's face.
Well, they were even doing that, not to bring it up, but in game 2, when you guys were missing everyone and Mitchell went crazy, they were doing that with like 2 minutes left. And it's like, meanwhile, Cleveland's pissing the game away.
Exactly. So it's like, I feel like Aaron Gordon's going to have one of those where it's like, yeah, I know Jokic has 30, 12, and 15, but the actual secret hero of this game is Aaron Gordon because he has 25 and
Yeah.
12. So,
Yeah, I gotta say, I think both Denver and OKC have done a really good job of not neutralizing the other superstar, but like making it, because I don't think Jokic has been awesome in this series. Like I don't think Jokic or SGA have been awesome in this series. It's funny. Shea splits in the playoffs. I was just looking him up. He's 44% from the field, 24% from three in the postseason, compared to 52% from the floor and 38% from three in the regular season. So, not getting it done quite at that same level, like as you kind of just talked about. But it screams OKC, or it screams Denver win a close game 6 at home and then just get absolutely killed in game 7 in OKC. Just because they just don't have enough. I mean, OKC or Denver literally has 6 basketball players that can play in the game.
How good do you have to be to say, yeah, you've been neutralized, you're 30, 15, and 5?
Pretty damn good. No, you have to be amazing. And I mean, look, the first like huge game he had was in that game the other night where he had 44,
yeah.
I think 50. Yeah, like 44.
Dude, he shot like 70% from the field or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, we all understand Jokic. He's the best player we've seen in the last 5 years, no doubt about it. But this is just a hell of a team they're going against.
Which is also crazy because it's like Jokic is so good, but like it's kind of underrated what he's doing because like he's the greatest player since LeBron was in the bubble.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, honestly.
It's like when LeBron was at the peak of his powers, like when he's in, 2018 times, like, man, this is the best that we've seen in 20 years since Jordan in 98 or something like that. And now it's this is the best we've seen in like 3 or 4 years or something like that.
Yeah, since that other guy was 35.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I would say actually post-bubble, that's actually a good timeline. Post-bubble, Jokic has the belt for like from that moment on.
Which is sad because I really thought it was going to be Giannis. I really did think Giannis was going to have the belt, and even when his name comes up, it still doesn't like have that.
Can we do a quick Giannis moment? Just
what the hell?
It kind of ties in.
What the hell's about to happen with him?
So I've been seeing some stuff where it's
I hate
like
when you make that face that you're making right now,
where it's like certain teams wouldn't want to include whatever. And I'm like, if you're Houston and you have a chance to get a guy who at the absolute worst is like maybe the third best guy in the league. Like that's absolutely the lowest you can have Giannis. I don't give a shit. That's the lowest you can have him is third. And they're talking about, fuck, I don't know if we can give up Amen Thompson. What the fuck? Like,
well, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, though, where it's like, on a completely different scale, but it's like about Jared Allen, where it's like, man, you get so attached to these things. And
yeah, you do. As soon as they're wearing your jersey.
And me and you talk about it all the time, where it's like people just assume, oh, this dude did X in year 1, so therefore it's only going to do this. It's like, who's to say this isn't the best he's ever going to be? And we literally 100%. Know that Giannis is like you said, at worst, the third best player in the league. Like, that's a known. This is a, hey, maybe he could, based on what we saw, he maybe and could be.
I think Giannis is, like, actually a really loyal guy. Like, this isn't trading for Durant this summer where it's like, yeah, he's super, and I love Durant, I do, but it's like, yeah, he's super talented, but shit, we don't know if there's going to be consistency and stability. Like, nah, this is trading for a guy who I think as long as you put a good team around him, he's going to want to be there. Mm-hmm. The reason he doesn't want to be in Milwaukee is because they're fucking ass. Like, that's just
their second best player has been Bobby Portis.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that was just a quick Giannis thing. Gun to my head, I still would have no idea who he ends up on, because, like, I mean, if you really just want to say...
Poole, the 6th pick.
I actually saw something
ownership
that was like,
rights
I swear
to the franchise.
I'm going to see if I can pull it up right now, if I still have it on my phone, because it was like, honest to God, the most shocking headline I've ever seen. Like, whoever wrote this should get... get a max extension from ESPN. What did it? God, I can't find it, but it was something along the lines of like Wizards package to Wizards package to entice Giannis or some shit like that, and I was like, what the hell are we talking? Oh, there it is. Can Wizards land Giannis? What Washington and every other team could offer for the Bucks for Giannis. This is from Bobby Marks. So, granted, I know he didn't write the headline for the specific Wizards part, but like whoever did,
So is that? But
shout out to those
my
guys.
question is that him
Yep.
saying even the worst team in the league could put some sort of package together?
I mean, yeah, I think it's probably more of that, but like, still, like, if you're the guy who wrote that headline, like, I don't know, that was just crazy.
Yeah.
I still would say the most likely targets though would be Houston, OKC. I think Houston and OKC have to be 1 and 2. I don't know.
Allen,
I mean,
Garland.
shit. I mean, look, the thing is, like, people are like, oh, Milwaukee has to still be competitive because they gave up some picks. Like, to me, it's like you have to do the Brooklyn Nets thing from when they got KG and Pierce. You just have to get whatever the best trade is. If you think the best trade is OKC and you're getting Chet and Hart, or you're getting Jalen Williams and Hartenstein's contract and some other shit, like, then do that.
Yeah.
If you think the best thing is somehow, which I have no idea how you would think this, but you think it's like Jalen Green and Tari Eason and Amen Thompson maybe, you know, and a pick or two, like, then do that. But don't be like, man, we have to be competitive, you know, because we don't have our picks. Like, those are done. Like, you're not going to get them back if they're the first pick or the 20th
Right.
pick. You're not going to get them back. So just do whatever you can to, like, put the best foot forward for the team would be my advice to Milwaukee.
Right. So, really awesome stuff today. Hopefully, you guys find, one of the two topics. I kind of like these binary episodes where we kind of just flip down the middle,
Oh, yeah.
talk a little NBA, talk a little bit of football. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, share it, tell your friends, all that stuff. Really trying to get a more consistent schedule. I know I've said that probably 3 episodes in a row, but I'm actually finally moved into my new house. We didn't have Wi-Fi
Yep.
for about a week. So I'm really going to try my best now to get some consistency going. Going to actually drop this tonight on Wednesday. I'm saying it on the video, so I actually do it.
Nice.
So we'll definitely
Nice.
see you guys here soon. And episode 35 incoming.